everybody, welcome to my channel. I recently did a video about my Build-A-Bear workshop experience working there for the holiday season, and then I also did one about Barnes & Noble, so I'll have those linked down below and in the cards if you're interested. Today I'm talking about my very first job, which was working at an animal shelter. This animal shelter no longer exists. It did get shut down. I'm not sure if that was because of lack of funding or if it wasn't a suitable environment for animals because bacteria and disease went rampage in this animal shelter. I'm not sure like the interview process, what to expect when you're interviewing for an animal shelter position, because I do work in the animal field, so I have interviewed for other shelter experiences. This was back in high school though, so the interview process was different. We were guaranteed this job because basically I think our school was paying for half of it and then the shelter was paying for half, so it only ended up being like $7-8 an hour. This was years ago. Minimum wage is now $15 in New York City. So general questions that you'll probably get asked when you're interviewing for an animal shelter is usually, are you comfortable with animals? They're going to ask you numerous scenario questions such as, what would you do in case you're dealing with an animal that doesn't want to jump on the scale to get weighed, or when you're dealing with an animal that's scared or frightened, are you going to tug on them? Are you going to do positive reinforcement? They're going to get those types of scenario questions. Usually you want to err on the side of positive reinforcement. The questions will vary, but you just want to make sure to emphasize that you're okay with messes, you're okay cleaning dirty cages, because that's really a large portion of the job. You're okay with poop and throw up and any form of bodily fluids, that you're okay being on your feet for numerous hours during the day, that you like to keep busy. That's what you want to emphasize, because that's generally what they're looking for. Animal shelter jobs are very rarely just cuddling up with cats and dogs. Usually it's a lot dirtier than that, especially in my experience. So the animal shelter that we worked at, like I said, was very small. It was really a sad job because these animals obviously are homeless, but also it was just not suitable living conditions in my opinion. It was a no-kill shelter. It was very small. I think it lacked funding, but there was also people who worked there who I feel like didn't genuinely love the animals. That's my interpretation of what I saw. I also didn't like that they didn't know our names. So I was volunteering with a couple of my friends, mostly just with my best friend. We were volunteering, then we worked there for a summer, and then we went back to volunteering because they didn't want to continue to pay us. So it was just a lot of animal deaths. You would see cats that would look fine 1 minute, and then the next time you saw them, they were passing away or in the state of dying. And 16-year-old Janie took that very hard, I'm not gonna lie, and I still take things like that hard. The key is to not show it in the moment. Like, it's okay to have a private moment after and cry, in my opinion. The only reason I hesitate to do that in front of other people is because what I've come to realize working at zoos and working in other animal places in the field is that people will kind of, if they're not nice people around you, they will kind of throw that in your face. They'll use that against you. They'll try to like frame it in a way that makes you come off incompetent or like you're incapable of being in this animal field because you care too much or you're too emotional. So I would generally watch out for that. Keep that in mind. Every work environment is different though. I didn't experience that in this particular place, but at a later job I definitely did. We cleaned cat cages and dog cages. Sometimes we would walk dogs. We would wash a whole lot of dishes. It was hard to work there because a lot of it wasn't just that they were homeless, it's that a lot of disease was spreading really quickly. No matter how much we cleaned, again, we were only there once a week, but there was just a lot of disease spreading. Cats were getting sick with the same thing very, very quickly, and it's hard to pinpoint what was the issue, especially, I mean, now as an adult, I probably would have been able to see it more clearly, but when we were there, it was hard because we were only there once a week. It was our weekend job. We were like 15 or 16. It was right by a mall, so right after we would finish working, we would go to the mall, and it was very wholesome stuff. But the actual job itself was gross, but you have gloves, and like it happens, you know, you wipe things down, you wash things as best as you can. We did litter. One time there wasn't any cat food or wet food for the kittens, so my friend and I literally with our own money went to the corner store to purchase some because the workers there were like, oh yeah, we'll get cat food later, we'll get cat food later. But these cats were like crying and they were super hungry, and a lot of them were kittens. So me and my friend just took it upon ourselves to go buy some wet food for them because we didn't want to see them just crying and crying. And they were so cute. There were so many cute cats. There were some feral cats as well that we could not handle, obviously, and we had a workaround basically. There's a lot of roaches. I distinctly remember, this wasn't with my best friend, this was with another friend. I was talking to her, we were standing in the kitten room. There's cat cages top to bottom, and I was talking to her, she wears glasses, and a giant roach just like fell on her glasses frame and was just like walking around on it, and I I remember screaming so loud because I'm just not a fan of roaches, and to have it fall on you like that was really creepy. There were roaches everywhere from what I remember. Didn't see any rodents, which is funny because now that's the type of issue that I see in moving forward with other animal jobs, is a lot of rodents, but I don't think there were that many. I think it was really just like roaches. Since we were just like seasonal part-time staff, we didn't really handle any of the aggressive dogs. There were a lot of aggressive chihuahuas. Like some of them were very overweight. I think they had medical issues. I don't know if it was tumors, masses that were on their body, but they were very large is what I remember, and we had certain full-time staff that would handle those dogs. Or when we would be given a dog, we were told not to touch them, like don't touch the dog, just walk the dog and then bring it right back. So that was not bad. I mean, I love walking dogs. I love cleaning cages. It's busy work. Time goes by pretty freaking fast. I just didn't like that they didn't know our names. And this is generally not going to happen at this point. I'm not even sure how they figured out payroll if they didn't even know our names. But I felt like that was a little disrespectful. Like they knew a couple other people, but I feel like me and my friends did a bulk of the job when we were there. I think we were really good at it. And to not know your staff's name is just kind of weird to me. We saw a lot of animal death. I saw a lot of my favorite cats pass away. I remember one time I was cleaning a cage and the cat was just on its side, just very shallow breathing, and I remember calling one of the employees over and they're like, yeah, she's not gonna make it. And I was just like devastated. I was like, no, don't die in my hand. That's part of the job. Unfortunately, you're dealing with a lot of cats that have been abandoned, or they're homeless, or they were picked up as strays, which is why people stress the adopt, don't shop so much. I recently had a conversation, not recently, I briefly had a conversation with someone a couple months ago about adopting and not shopping. The reason people say that is because when you shop for an animal, there's so many animals without homes. So when you go to a breeder instead, or when you go to a pet shop, which is usually supporting puppy mills, you are taking away an opportunity of a homeless cat that's living in a shelter, or a homeless dog, from having a new home. Do you know what I mean? So I know going to a breeder is tempting because you can hand pick whatever type of breed you want. Like there's certain breeds that don't really end up in animal shelters, at least from what I've seen. You don't get a lot of Frenchies at animal shelters. You don't get a lot of Dalmatians at animal shelters. A lot of Huskies. Well, Huskies kind of sometimes. It depends. But there's certain breeds that I know people really want, and that's why they go to breeders. But there's just so many cats and dogs that don't have homes because they're already old and their family got tired, or their kids grew up and they no longer want it. That's why adopting helps so much in a situation like that. That's like the most basic tip of the iceberg explanation I can give you. But it is sad to see when people go to a breeder, and I get it because I got my dog from a pet shop because I was like 6 years old, not 6 years old, I was in 6th grade and I didn't know any better, and we purchased him and we totally got ripped off. We spent over $2,000 on our Yorkie, and he's an oversized Yorkie. He's not even a teacup, and now he's like 16 years old, and I'm happy. I love him, but again, I would have probably thought things through, adopted a pet from the shelter. It's hard. It's hard on all shelters, whether it's a no-kill like the one I just worked at, which had awful living conditions because they're trying to accept as many cats and dogs as possible with very little resources. And then, you know, like there's only so much you can do before you have to turn away dogs. So, and cat. Whoa. I forgot to mention, I got fleas from this animal shelter. So at some point I was working with an animal that must have had fleas, cat or dog, and I brought her home because my dog had the worst flea bites, and then he had an allergic reaction to those flea bites, and we spent so much on medical bills, and that became a pattern for Max's life for years to come, where he was just constantly having reactions to flea bites because I bought them from the shelter. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Probably the #1 thing that I hated. And I changed my clothes after I would come home. They must have still been on me despite that fact, but I did try to be careful, but then I was extra careful after that because I was like, those medical bills are no joke. Taking care of a dog or a cat, honestly, is a big responsibility, and it's something that it should never be taken lightly. Where was I? Because that wasn't what I was gonna say. I don't know. Basically, it was long, it was a hard job, but it was a rewarding job because you know you're taking care of these animals as best as you can to your best of your abilities while they try to find them a home. So if you worked at an animal shelter, let me know down below. I would love to hear about it, or anything in the animal field actually. And I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.